Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the May 5th regular meeting of council. The City of Parksville recognizes the people of the Coast Salish Nations and their traditional territory, upon which we gather with gratitude. Moving forward, I think we have Councillor Grims coming in online and trying to see if there's a way that we can see him. Okay, there you go. Okay. he's out in the parking lot. Okay, welcome, Councillor Grims. We see you. You want to give me a microphone test, please? Just say hello. Okay, I see you can see. Councillor Grims, can you give me a microphone test so I can hear you?
Yes, good afternoon.
Your microphone is very soft. I barely got it. Could you try it one more time?
I will try a different microphone then in a moment.
Is anybody getting that? Do you know sign language? Yes. Thank you. Okay, well, we'll take it as we can. Hopefully it improves anyways, leaning into it. You got a solution, Adam? Oh, it's not working. Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll move on and we'll see how it runs here. Thank you. Consent agenda for the minutes of the council meeting held April 23rd to 25th. And also approval of the council meeting agenda. Do we have a mover, seconder, or further recommendations as such? Moved by Councillor Martin, seconded by Councillor Wood. Any errors, omissions, or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? It carries. Thank you. We have one presentation today from MNP LLP, the audited financial statements for year end, December 31, 2024. A presentation by Corey Vanderhorst of MNP LLP of the city's audited financial statements for the year ended December 31st, 2024. Corey, you've got a little PowerPoint presentation for us today?
Yes, I do, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you and welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you for inviting me here to attend today. I have a short presentation as we've done for the last few years. Before I get started, a big thank you to staff at the city, in the finance department, and throughout all your other departments for going through the audit process with us. Again, it always goes very smoothly. We really appreciate all of their work. Let's try this for a second. Okay, I'm gonna go to the next slide. Is that one not connected? There we go. All right. Okay, I'll tell you. Thank you. Okay, so we'll start by looking at your financial statements and then talk a little bit about the audit and the audit process. Diving right into the numbers, what you've got on the slide in front of you is the statement of financial position or the balance sheet at the end of December 31st. So you can see their cash and investments have increased just over $10 million. Total financial assets, so cash and receivables, also increasing about $10 million to $98.9 million. Debt is being paid down on schedule, so from 4.9 to 4.69 million at the end of the year. And debt and payables and any of the deferred capital and deferred capital contributions, any of the deferred revenues that you've got at the end of the year are your total financial liabilities of $35.3 million. So those have increased a little bit at the end of the year. If you subtract those liabilities from the total financial assets, you get what we call the net financial asset position. That has improved from $55 million to $63.6 million at the end of the year. The physical assets, infrastructure, roads, water, sewer, and all that stuff that you're managing has decreased to $212 million. So what that means is there was some capital spending throughout the year, but the depreciation taken on those capital assets was larger than the spending. So the value has declined on the balance sheet. And accumulated surplus, I'll show you in a future slide, is just shy of $276 million at the end of the year. Okay, we'll go to the next slide, please. The next slide is the income statement or the statement of operations. You can see there that total revenue for 2024 was $38.4 million. That is down significantly from the prior year, but the prior year had some significant grant funding from the province, a growing community fund that was delivered in March of 2023, as well as some developer contributed assets. So those show up as revenue. So your total revenue for 2024 doesn't have some of those unusual one-time items that came through in 2023. Total expenses of $33.7 million, up a little bit from the prior year with inflation in various categories, but you can see they're under budget. So you had budgeted for about 38.8 million, but only spent 33.8. So you get an accounting surplus at the end of the year of $4.6 million. I say accounting surplus because we're doing a lot of things with adjustments to deferred revenue and moving things around. When you're looking at your budget, you're more thinking about this type of presentation where you look at your cash flows. So the regular operations of the city brought in $12 million. Again, that's down from the prior year because of that significant growing community grant in 2023. Capital spending was $1.7 million, down significantly from the prior year. 7.3 was transferred into investment accounts to make sure that you're getting a good rate of return and not just having it in general bank accounts. Debt being repaid on schedule, just over $200,000, and a net cash inflow of $2.7 million at the end of the year into the general account. So 2.7 in the general, 7.3 into the investment accounts is really putting that funding aside for future projects and future costs. The next slide, we'll talk about the accumulated surplus. So starting from the bottom, that $275.9 million of accumulated surplus for the city is mostly tied up in what we call the equity in the capital assets, $206 million. So that's the value on the books minus the debt that you're still paying down. Then you've got an unrestricted surplus balance of 35.3, very similar to the prior year's number, and restricted surplus accounts, so reserves and amounts rolling over for future projects. That's increased from 25.9 to 33.7. So you can see there, as I talked about, putting aside all those funds in the investment accounts, it's putting them into the reserves and make sure they're available for future projects. Switching gears then away from the numbers, the audit is complete. We've got all of our last few steps. Thank you to staff throughout the city, as well as the audit committee for meeting with me a couple of weeks ago. We're providing what we call an unmodified opinion. So that's a clean audit opinion. We're satisfied that the financial statements that you have in your package there are prepared accurately in all material respects in accordance with the appropriate local government accounting standards. The last step for the audit is council approval here today, and then I've got an audit report ready to hand off to Ed Marley. When we're going through our audit process, we do look at the controls to make sure you're getting accurate financial results. We look at how they're designed and implemented to manage risk and make sure that you have lower risk of fraud or error in your financial statements. We sample transactions throughout the year. We don't look at every transaction. There's always the possibility that we miss something. That's just a limitation of audit. And again, a big thank you to management and staff throughout the city. I will confirm our independence. We didn't do any other projects with the city that would impair my ability to give you an independent audit opinion. And that goes from the start of the year, January 1st, 2024, all the way through to today, the end of the audit period, May 5th. And I'll wrap up by looking at going back into the numbers and looking at a couple ratios. So we started by looking at just 2024 and what happened in 1 year. Here we start to look at, where are some of the finances trending? Is there anything you should be thinking of as you're looking to the future and what the future plans of council would be? So we start by looking at what we call a sustainability ratio. This is looking at your liquid assets, your financial assets, cash and receivables, compare them to the liabilities that you have coming up. And this one, we're looking for this magic number of 1. Right? If you dip below 1 on this ratio, it means you are taxing or raising revenues in the future to pay for past transactions. If you're above 1, you have reserves set aside for future projects. So you can see here the ratio has been increasing for the last few years, from 2.46 a couple of years ago up to 2.8. So as you're putting money aside into reserves, that is a healthy trend for that ratio. And then the last one we look at, we call a flexibility ratio. So this one we look at your tangible capital assets, your infrastructure. And the reason we call it flexibility is if infrastructure is aging really fast, you lose flexibility. You've got a lot of costs coming up that you have to replace or repair older assets. So it's a rough aging of the assets. It's not condition assessments. It's just how old they are. And you can see here for the city, it has been declining. It was 72.4 in 2020. It's down to 68.9 in 2024. And as we mentioned earlier, there was more depreciation than capital spending for the year, and that's what makes this ratio keep dropping. So just a little bit under 60 or 68.9% for 2024. I'd be happy to answer any questions from council.
That's great, Corey. Thank you very much. Great presentation as usual. Any questions for Corey while he's here? Go ahead, Councillor Gore.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Corey, again for the presentation. I definitely want to thank our staff from the finance department who've done an amazing job to make sure we are financially sustainable. If we can go to the sustainability index slide, please. I know you mentioned a ratio of more than 1 is good. I think we're getting close to what, 2.8. So could this also be an indicator that maybe we have more financial assets than the liabilities, and perhaps are we like overtaxing, or what does it indicate? What's a good healthy ratio not to go beyond? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. So, you know, there's no right answer for where should you be here, right? We always talk about that being below 1 as concerning because but as you get up here, it really gets into what is your long range plan, what's in the 5-year plan, what's in longer range capital plans, because you want to be looking ahead to, okay, if there's 2.8, almost a 3-to-1 ratio of cash to liabilities right now, if 2 years down the line is a massive capital project, it's going to eat into those reserves pretty quickly, right? Or the balance of tax reserves and debt financing on a big project is always going to come into play. So a lot of the communities that I work with are between 1 and 3, right? If you're getting a lot higher than that, that's a lot of assets. That being said, some organizations might have very large capital projects coming down. If there's a water treatment plant or a sewer treatment plant, those are big expenditures. So you have to look at those together with the plan and where are we going, right? Some organizations will some communities will put aside funding for many years, knowing that there's a very big spend coming.
Good.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, through the mayor. So, no, this is right, because I think the council knows we have created a lot of reserves for the upcoming expenses, especially on the capital side of things. So, yeah, that's why the ratio may look high, but we have really impending costs that are coming our way. So, yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Councillor.
Yes, go ahead, Councillor Beal.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Corey, for the presentation. And I echo the thanks to our staff. It made it very readable, understandable. In a similar vein to Councillor Gore's question, I was wondering about the flexibility slide there. And I was just wondering at one point, does one have any concern around that figure?
Thank you. It's a great question. You're dipping into you're in the high 60s right now in that ratio, and that's where I see most of the communities that I work with on the island. Is that as you embark on some bigger capital projects, some will start to swing it up by a couple percentage points, but most are in the 65 to 75% range, depending on the age of the community. Huntsville, with being only about 20 years old, is very different asset profile. But it's if you start getting into the 50s, 50% range, that's where you're saying, hey, there's a lot of really old assets. And, I wouldn't have to pull numbers out. You'd notice it. You'd notice more potholes in the roads and buildings falling apart and some of those things, like you guys would be hearing about a lot from your operations side and public works. So in the high 60s, low 70s, most communities are sort of sitting around that, the ones that I work with on the island. Thank you.
Yeah. Any further questions? Go ahead, Councillor Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Corey, and also the staff. Like we've said, they make it a lot easier to especially understand. You don't understand all these things. So what I was wanted to ask you, when you do the OCP, are these the things that you bring up with the OCP? Do you know anything about that?
So we don't specifically look at the OCP as part of the audit process.
I'm talking about when we look at it.
Oh, when you look at it.
Yes, like we have the OCP coming up. We have these figures. Do we have those figures guiding us too a little bit with that OCP?
Yeah, I'll defer to staff on that in terms of how the finances would feed into the OCP
Okay, it's just
conversation. Yeah.
a question. I was trying to reaffirm what I was thinking. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
That's great.
Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you. Okay, I can't see Councillor Grins, but I guess he would have popped up if we had a question. Okay, Corey, thank you very much. I see no further questions. Thank you
Thank
once
you,
again
Mr.
for your presentation. While we're on the financial statement, do I have a mover or seconder for the recommendation that the city of Parksville's audited financial statements for the year ended December 31, 2024 be received for information, and that the 2024 audited financial statements be accepted as presented and approved? Do I have a mover or second for that? Moved by Councillor Beal, second by Councillor Gore. All those in favor? That carries. Thank you. And I can see Councillor Gore now. Thank you, Councillor Gore. Okay, moving on. We have one piece of correspondence today from the Regional District of Nanaimo regarding the Northern Community Sewer Local Services Amendment Bylaw 889.82 2025. Do I have a mover seconder for the recommendation? Moved by Councillor Wood, second by Councillor Martin. Any discussion? All those in favor? Carries unanimous. Thank you. The first report on the agenda is from the Director of Finance, the 2025 to 2029 amended financial plan to provide council with the amended 2025-2029 financial plan bylaw. Jed, are you going to present or just as per the attached information? Yes, we've seen it a few times. So I'm going to read each one of these out, council, because there's a lot of them coming up. And so the public knows exactly what we're moving here. Do I have a mover or seconder for the first of three recommendations? The first recommendation is that the report from the Director of Finance dated April 24th to 2025, entitled 2025 to 2029 amended financial plan be received. And point two, that the 2025 to 2029 amended financial plan bylaw be advanced to the statutory process. Moved by Councillor Beal, seconded by Councillor Frass. Any discussion? All those in favor? Thank you. That carries. The next report on the agenda is also from the Director of Finance for the 2025 to municipal property tax rates. Do I have a mover or seconder for the second recommendation? That point one, that the report from the Director of Finance dated April 24th, 2025, entitled 2025 municipal property tax rates be received. And point two, that the 2025 tax rates bylaw be advanced to the statutory process. Moved by Councillor Wood, seconded by Councillor Martin. Any discussion? All those in favor? That carries. Thank you. Next report on the agenda is from the Director of Finance regarding the 2025 sanitary sewer utility rate increases. Do I have a mover or seconder for the recommendation? Point one, that the report from the Director of Finance dated April 24th, 2025, entitled 2025 sanitary sewer utility rate increases be received. Point two, that the amended City of Parksville sanitary and storm sewerage system bylaw 1999, number 1319, be brought forward for council's consideration. Point three, that the amended City of Parksville sewer parcel tax bylaw 1999, number 1493, be brought forward for council's consideration. A mover and seconder, moved by Councillor Wood, seconded by Councillor Beal. Any discussion? All those in favor? It carries. On talking. Next report is from the Director of Finance regarding the 2025 water utility rate increases. Do I move or seconder for the recommendation? Point one, that the report from the Director of Finance dated April 24th to 2025, entitled 2025 Water Utility Rate Increases be received. Point two, that the amended City of Parksville Water System Bylaw 1999, number 1320, be brought forward for Council's consideration. Point three, that the amended City of Parksville Water Parcel Tax Bylaw 1999, number 1494, be brought forward for Council's consideration. Moved by Councillor Martin, seconded by Councillor Wood. Any discussion? All those in favor? Carries. Thank you. Next report on the agenda is from the Manager of Finance regarding 2024 Annual Development Cost Charges Report. Do I have a mover or seconder for the recommendation? Point one, that the report from the Manager of Finance dated April 14th, 2025, entitled 2024 Annual Development Cost Charges Report be received. Moved by Councillor Franz, seconded by Councillor Wood. Any discussion? All those in favor? Thank you. The next report on the agenda is from the Manager of Communications regarding temporary road closures for special events. To request council approval for temporary road closures for special events. Do I have a mover, seconder for the recommendation that the report from the Manager of Communications dated April 28th, 2025, entitled Temporary Road Closures for Special Events be received? Point two, that approval for granted for temporary road closure requests to accommodate special events planned for the period July 1st to August 17th, 2025. Moved by Councillor Beal, seconded by Councillor Martin. Any discussion? Councillor Gore, go ahead. Okay, and Councillor Gore, yes or no? A question? Grant, sorry. Councillor Grant, did you have your hand up as well? Okay, thank you. Councillor Gore, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Through you to staff. I was looking at our council policies and traffic bylaws, but I could not find a council policy on the temporary road closures. So we don't have a policy at this time. So the reason I asked this is some of these things are very annual. They come every year to us. So I was wondering, having a policy in place with the new changes that the staff is recommending in terms of traffic management to be with the applicant. So is this something staff, if we don't have one, is this something we should be looking into to have a temporary road closure policy so these requests don't come to us every time?
Go ahead, CAO Kaler.
Thank you. Through you, I think we do have it somewhere. I just can't remember off the top of my head. It might be in the bylaw. But our practice has usually been to bring a road closure to council the first time. And we went several years, for example, with the Craig Street or the Summer by the Sea market, where we did not bring it back to council. But when something expands or changes in scope, the initial market was less than 50 vendors, and it's now over closer to 200 vendors, I would say. So our practice has been to bring it kind of periodically back to council. And the other reason I think why we bring them back is because we do sometimes get concerns from members of the public when the road is closed. And we have more people living downtown now than we did when we first started that Summer by the Sea market. So it's, I think, good practice for council to have an opinion or have the ability to express its opinion on those. We can certainly do it kind of for maybe a 5-year time if council wanted to do it that way. But in this case, we hadn't really brought them back to council for a while. So it's just a good chance for a check. We will confirm where, I think it's in the traffic bylaw, but I can't remember off the top of my head why we bring it back to you. The other thing maybe worthy of note is that we probably don't have to bring the community park road closures to council, but we think we should. So that's why we brought these ones forward, because in the past, when we've had council approval for a temporary event, there's been concerns about accessibility because for that day, the person can't drive, down that part of the road. So I think it's beneficial for us as staff and also for the public to have council oversight on that. But certainly we'll take direction if you wanted to do it as a kind of pre-approval for several years or something like that, or, you know, based on the scope not changing.
Are you good or a follow-up? Go ahead, Councilor.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you, CAO. I think I personally do like the 5-year, giving you guys the operational things to deal with. And I know like this council specifically has been very focused on accessibility part of things, and I think staff is aware of those things. Just going through the package here, one question I had about was the traffic control plan for the Festival of Lights. I could not find who would be responsible for traffic management on those 2 days. Is it the Beach Fest folks, or is it the City of Parksville? Like, who is managing traffic that day?
Thank you.
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
If I may, that is not a city hosted event. So in those situations, it's the sponsor. So QF is, I believe, the lead on the Festival of Lights. I'm also just getting confirmation from the special event coordinator that that is QF's event. Beach Fest does have other events that it is responsible for. And so when the applicant fills out the request for that, then their company is identified for staff and their plan is submitted. So it might be 2 different companies for Beach Fest and the QF event, but it's not the city that's hosting those.
Right. It's in collaboration, in this case, the Beach Fest people with the Quality Foods. They come up with the traffic plan and the application. Yeah, it is good that they're both covered in that case. Yes, that's great. Any other questions regarding the temporary road closure? All those in favor? Thank you. That carries. Next up, we have bylaws for 3 readings. For the 5-year financial plan amendment bylaw 2025, number 1594.1. Do I move or seconder for the recommendation that 5-year financial plan amendment bylaw 2025, number 1594.1 be read 3 times? Moved by Councillor Wood, seconded by Councillor Martin. Any discussion? All those in favor? That carries. Thank you. Next up, we have 3 readings for the tax rates bylaw 2025, number 1595. Do I have a mover or seconder for the recommendation that the tax rates bylaw 2025, number 1595 be read 3 times? Mover or seconder, moved by Councillor Beale, seconded by Councillor Gore. Any discussion? All those in favor? Thank you. Next up, we have 3 readings for the Sanitary and Storm Sewerage System Amendment Bylaw 2025, number 1319.22. Do I have a mover and seconder for the recommendation that Sanitary and Storm Sewerage System Amendment Bylaw 2025, number 1319.22 be read 3 times? I have a mover and seconder for that. Moved by Councillor Wood, seconded by Councillor Martin. Any discussion? All those in favor? Thank you. Next up, we have 3 readings for the Water Service System Amendment Bylaw 2025, number 1320.35. Do I have a mover and seconder for the recommendation and that the Water Service System Amendment Bylaw 2025, number 1320.35 be read 3 times? Moved by Councillor Beale, seconded by Councillor Martin. On any discussion? All those in favor? That carries. 3 readings for the Sewer Parcel Tax Amendment Bylaw 2025, number 1493.12. Do I have a mover and a seconder for the recommendation that Sewer Parcel Tax Amendment Bylaw 2025, number 1493.12 be read 3 times? Mover or seconder for that, please? Moved by Councillor Gore, seconded by Councillor Martin. Any discussion? All those in favor? That carries. Thank you. Three readings for the Parcel Tax Amendment Bylaw 2025, number 1494.10. Do I have a mover or seconder for the recommendation that Water Parcel Tax Amendment Bylaw 2025, number 1494.10 be read 3 times? Moved by Councillor Wood, seconded by Councillor Beal. Any discussion? All those in favor? Thank you. That moved along very quickly. Thank you. I'll get a drink of water now because that was a lot of reading. Great. We have one notice of motion on the floor today. It's regarding from myself putting through a notice or putting through a motion that I'd like to hear today, if I may, regarding the benefits plan for elected officials. And I'll read out the mover and seconder and read out for moving and seconding the recommendations, and then I'll go into greater detail when we bring it onto the floor. If I get a seconder for them. Looking for a mover and seconder for the recommendation that staff be directed to investigate enhanced extended benefit plan options for elected officials to receive coverage for the remainder of the current council's term to October 2026. And stopping there. And then point 2, that staff be directed to investigate options for providing extended benefits to future elected officials in partnerships with other local governments, such as the Regional District of Nanaimo, in the most cost-effective possible manner, with each member local government covering the cost for their respected officials. So elected officials. I'm moving that. If I have a seconder for that, Councillor Martin. Thank you. So what, Council, you recall anyways, at the very start of our term, we had an extended benefits program provide or optioned to Council anyways at that particular time. And there's a lot of confusion that went around that conversation and so forth. But anyways, the long and short of it is that we have since found out that other elected officials and so forth have it automatically. They don't have to go to the council approval process, and it really should be up to the individuals to either opt in or opt out to put it in play. And so that's what we didn't do at that particular time, and so be it. But in the meantime, it's brought to our attention that really it provides financial hardship for some of our members as elected officials anyways, by not having this when other elected officials do receive it as well. So we've had attempts in the past to try and bring it back up for rediscussion. And we were advised that it was not possible to do it at that particular time, that there was no means to do it and so forth to opt in. But now we found that if we can get council approval on it, we can once again survey the people at this table today to see if any would like to apply under the extended medical benefits program, as I just read out anyways for the elected officials. So all that I'm saying is just to have a discussion here, as to who would want to benefit if this motion was passed, and B, to advise staff to put it in motion effective immediately for the remainder of this term, which would be approximately 16 months moving forward. So, and then what it would do is also put it in place for the next council to have it in place as well. And part 2 of that motion that I've talked about here is that staff have identified the fact that we can get benefit packages through the RDN and all the other electoral areas, and maybe at a better cost rating. If so, the second part of the recommendation here is for staff to investigate for now, sometime now and the end of our term, in preparation for the next term of council members, anyways, to be in a combined package that actually would be administered through the RDN for all elected officials in the RDN territory, including municipal and electoral area directors as well. So that's just looking, because maybe we can get economies of scale and get a better rate from the service providers. So that's what part 2 reads into it. So Councillor Gore, you have a question? Go ahead. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. Yes. I just wanted to give them both. So a discussion on point 1 anyways would be good at this time. If Councillor Martin, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As you know, I've requested it a couple of times way back. We went through all this. And I think it's an important thing for everyone to have a medical plan of some sort. And so in my case, I would like to opt in if there was a possibility I could from now on. If you've done the research or if the research is possible, we thought it wasn't possible, like you mentioned. And so not everyone has a medical plan and I don't. So that would be much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you for
what I have
that.
to do.
Yeah, thank you for that, Councillor Martin. And then we're recognizing that many people at the table and at future councils as well will be riding on benefits plans that they have from their employer or for their spouse or whatever. And so they have it, so they don't, it's strictly up to the elected official to opt in or opt out on their choice. And so obviously the more people that opt in, the more cost it is to the remuneration packages that we all have laid out for us. But that's basically, we feel that it's certainly should be up to those individuals that do not have those benefits provided to them, that they should be allowed to opt in to partake of it, because as with everything now, the medical expenses are hugely expensive for those that don't have a plan that they can ride on, or or maybe they retired and they used to have a plan, but they don't now.
Yeah.
Councillor Frass, go ahead, sir.
Question to you is, who are you suggesting covers the cost of these benefits?
It would be out of the remuneration package. It would be a budgeted item for the same as the remittance packages as for all council. City of Parksville, what those rates are. Okay, Councillor Beal, you're on my right, so go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I guess following up on a question that Councillor Frass brought, if this is to be approved, is that going to affect our budget that's for the coming year, or is it possible to assume these costs at this point in time through other pots of money or contingency or something?
Yes, I've talked with the CAO about this, how this could be handled. CAO Kaler, if you could give a brief outline of where this pocket, we're just talking for the 16 months duration now that's left for this council.
Thank you, through you to council. So we initially did bring a cost package to council in 2022, and there was a range of options, which there still would be. So it would depend on who opts in and whether they opt in for an individual, a single coverage or a family coverage. And so it ranged from about 10,000 a year to 30,000 a year. And so the total cost for the term, assuming everybody opted in for the higher plan coverage, was 116,000 that at the beginning of the term. So I would estimate or guess that it would be around 50,000, just under, for the remainder of this term if everybody opted in for the higher coverage. So staff would have to look for options, because the UBCM option we presented is not available as it was presented, because we had to have 3 members and it had to be within a certain time frame. However, there are other options out there. And so what staff would do is go back to UBCM and ask what they can provide at this time, given that it wasn't within the time frame, which I think was 4 months after you were elected. But they do still provide other coverage. And the other option is we would go to our own benefit provider for, did it just turn off? Oh, our own benefit provider for staff and see what options could be provided there. So we would come back to council with a more fulsome option list, but I think it's safe to say that it's probably about 5,000 to 8,000 per member for the annual coverage. So I think fairly low. overall cost when you think about, what it provides for this council and future councils in terms of recruitment. I have heard from a lot of other CAOs that this is becoming more of a common thing. It didn't used to be, and our previous councils had sort of rejected the idea, but given that we have younger folks and folks with all different walks of life, benefits are really something that is almost like an expectation in some respects. So we would come back to council with the definitive options. We would have a better sense of who's opting in. And then it does affect the budget, but I think perhaps what Councillor Beal, you might have been asking about was does it affect the tax rate? And that really will depend on council direction, because we do have accumulated surplus options. We do have reserve options. But I think moving forward long term for the next council term, it should be a taxation thing just because it's an operational cost. But from now to the end of term, I'll wait and see if I get kicked from behind, but I don't think there would be a tax rate implication for a fairly small amount. We do have a salary surplus that council could look at as well if there weren't other reserve options. Does that sound good? Yeah, I know that's probably not the preferred way, but
Still smiling.
yeah, but I think longer term it should be budgeted for, and it should be part of what council is taxing people for. But that would be 2026 and beyond, and that's where we're going to look for the most cost-effective option. And as the mayor was mentioning, we've not had this before, so council needs to make a decision once to add that service, I guess, to the council members, so as a remuneration package. And then after that, it would be budgeted for, and each individual new councillor would decide whether to opt in or opt out. So there'd still be a decision point for an individual, but it wouldn't, it would be budgeted for and planned for so that if a person wanted to avail themselves of that benefit, they could, and they wouldn't have to have all the councillors approve it. It just might change the options that we have if it's less than 3 people, but that's where we're trying to work with the RDN, where that wouldn't be an issue because they already do provide benefits for the 19 members on the board, and different plans for the electoral area directors. So we're just trying to come up with a unified system for the next term and beyond. But I think for now, we've had enough conversation with I've talked to a number of individual councillors that, and the mayor, I believe, has as well, that it's worth bringing back for kind of an equity discussion, I would say. Like many of the other councillors elected in the region do have this benefit or some kind of benefit. So that was why I think it made sense to bring it back again and see if we can explore different options than the UBCM program, which had that cutoff at the beginning.
Great, thank you. And I'll just touch on what Kiva said, and then I'll get right back to you, Mary. I actually had the figures here anyways, like you plan on the highest. So as it is right now, the family premium per month would be $157. So I did the math anyways. So $157 per month per individual that opted in, times 16 months, which is the remainder term, would be $2,560 each per term. So, that's planning on the high side. That's going for full family benefit. Maybe it wouldn't be applicable, but you always plan on the highest amount anyways. So 2,560 each times the amount of participants. So the only other thing to get more definitive so that we can say what it's going to cost, like out of reserve or whatever it's going to cost from, I would ask now, how many members at this table would want to apply for this new package or would like to continue on with their own package that they're. Oh, no, all that I'm saying is I'm just trying to give you, so I can give you a figure for total. I mean, okay, well, it's 25, let's not say per how many does it? I would say it's 2,560 each is what it would cost. If you don't want to identify this side. Thank you. So Councillor Beal, you were first.
Thank you. So if I understand the comments from our CAO correctly, and from reading this, it also seems that at this point in time, if this goes ahead, we're getting information and more definitive numbers with that. And people still can then, at that point, make a decision as to whether or not, because people need to go home and look at what they have in place, et cetera, talk to other family members rather than indicating right now. So I don't think there's any harm in the sense in moving this forward. I also do feel that having something like this in place does provide better equity for accessing these types of positions and serving on council. And it's looking around, many positions do include benefits. Decades ago, that wasn't necessarily the case, but that's certainly the case now. So I want to support this.
You are supporting or not? You are supporting?
Sorry?
I didn't hear what you said.
Oh, I'm just saying that I would like to get this point in time, I would be in supportive of
Yes.
this
Yes.
point one, understanding that I'm not making a decision
Right.
as to whether or not I would actually avail myself of the
Your
opportunity.
microphone just
but-
kept clicked off. Yeah,
Okay,
thank you. Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, that's great. Yes. Councillor Price, you had your hand up.
Yeah, thank you. Through the mayor to the council. A couple thoughts for me on this one. I'll save the equity part of it for last, but I'd be a lot more comfortable if the cost of this program was incurred by the individuals that were opting into it. Because when I hear that the city of Parksville is the one to pay for it, the city of Parksville doesn't have money. It's the residents of Parksville, it's the taxpayers that they end up paying for it. And for me to think that going, hey, I want to be your representative, and as part of it, you owe me benefit like medical and dental packages. I don't quite see this job as being the type where that should be part of the remuneration of it. I think we are paid fairly for what we do for our time here. And with that, if they have the program available, that we should be able to, purchase the medical and dental out of our own pocket. But adding that on top of it, I just don't see, to me, it doesn't quite meet up in my mind. And even with like RDN, if they're providing benefits and that for the board there, it just starts to become one of those things like the slippery slope where we're always trying to keep up to the next group. And and of course, somebody else always has it better than us. And you can't catch up to that. So where do we draw the line? I do think having benefit packages are important. And that's why I think having it available to us, but at our cost, I don't think it should be at the taxpayers' cost for our benefits. Touching a little aside on the equity portion of it, it's things like the RDN and every other municipality I know around here cover things like internet bills for their members. We don't do that for us. So we could always be looking at different little things and saying, hey, we should catch up and it's somebody else to pay the bill. But I think if we want those kind of things, we can cover it ourselves. So I'm in support of having a medical package available for us that we can get discounted rates at, but I think we should be covering them ourselves.
Yeah, and I'll just comment to that, suggesting that it's not a like a full-time job or we should expect it. I guess that depends on the different elected official, how much time they actually put into this job, and where that time. I can speak from personal experience that it is more than a full-time job for myself, because that's the way how serious I take this role as an elected official. I spend actually more hours at this than I actually did at my previous job that I did have full benefits with, of course. So I can assure you that the time spent on this is more than a full-time job if the counselor is truly dedicated to what they're doing. So I feel that the benefits package is a fair and equitable. It's actually representing what is expected of the council member, and it's respectful to their time that they have to actually give up to it. So I disagree with that. I believe, and your suggestion that it should just be paid by the individuals. Well, we already have that, Councillor Franz. We already have that option. I can go to Blue Cross tomorrow and I could go pay for any one of these packages that I want for myself or my family. So by putting it through Parksville, that's not even a suggestion. It's not a no-brainer. Just go right through Blue Cross and get our own if we're going to pay for it ourselves. But yes, as you mentioned, the RDN, their electoral area directors get it as well. And they could apply it also to the RDN directors as well, but that would actually be paid for by the city of Parksville, is submitted into the RDN. So all you're doing is you're just getting the RDN rate anyways on it. So I felt that it was more appropriate or fair for it to offer to all members of council, not just to RDN members here. Go ahead, Councilor Gore.
Thank you, Mayor. I agree with Councilor Frost, what he just mentioned. And to be honest, it seems like going back to 2022, we already had the same discussion. Staff presented us all the options where council members put in 50%, city puts in 50%. We had all these options presented. And council at the time voted against that. And that was council decision. So this has come back to us. I am a bit conflicted why it's back. That's why I wanted it to be voted on separately for the first and the second recommendation. I know some council members feel strongly about having the benefits package. I hear that from you, Mr. Mayor, with all respect. I get that. However, the remuneration itself reflects the job. It's full-time, part-time. If you want to make it more than full-time, that's up to you. But we know as council members, if you get paid, it's not a secret, $2,000 a month, you cannot sustain yourself, let alone raising a family. So we know it's not a full-time job. Going back to the benefits, I will not be availing of this benefit, rather, and I will not even be supporting the point one at this time. I think new council at the end of this term will have all the information, will have the option to opt into the UBCM package, which the staff intends on presenting to the new council. I think it's appropriate for that new council to make the decision for themselves as the time may come. So I'm not in favor of taxing more for the Parksville residents to pay for my benefits at this time when the decision was already made. Not once. I think the council actually voted twice on this. So I will not be supporting this. With all due respect to all the members who do want benefits, I don't think it's right for us to be taking this on at this time. Not to mention the staff who've already worked so hard on this. They've presented us all different options previously. So I don't want to put staff going through this again, but in 2026, we can look at it.
And to answer your question, why is this coming back again? Is actually in reflection on part when you suggested that it be brought back to the table, you had mentioned to one of the other members and to me in a conversation, you said, bring it back to the table. You did. But anyways, you just spoke to me. You said, you said, why don't we bring this back? What, 2 months ago? Sure.
Yes, thank you. So after that conversation we had, I spoke with CAO, and CAO mentioned that staff has already spent so much time on this, and she already spoke with the Councillor Martin about spending the time, and her suggestion was, let's leave it for the next council to decide in 2026. That's the most appropriate thing to do. And I think Councillor Martin can attest to that. So that's why I will not support this at this time.
Fine. Councillor Wood, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. I think Councillor Gore brings up a point that we have already looked at the options, which to me makes staff's job a little bit easier if we go ahead with asking for options, because those have already been put together, besides the fact it may not be the UBCM package. I think all we're looking at today is to look at those benefit plan options again. We're not really looking at where the money is coming from. That's not how I read what we're voting on today. So really, to me, it looks like we're voting on options, and I'm going to support number one, and I'm guessing I'm going to support number two, because both of these are just to investigate options. Hopefully, most of the work has already been done, as Councillor Gore brought up. So I'm in favor of both of these, even though we're only on number one. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Beal, you had your hand up.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And the way I read this, again, is that it's just to provide the possibility. So in fact, to look at possibly having access. And at present, there is no access. Right. So as opposed to the cost. So I would like to support this just so that we get a little more information down the road. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Fraz, go ahead.
All right, just through the mayor to council, a couple comments I just heard is that we're not looking at houses being paid for right now. and to be able to have the options for it. Previously, the mayor said we all have the option to go to Blue Cross. We could sign up for it right now.
Right.
So in my mind, we're not looking at the options of then if it's available, it is available. If it's not a matter of who's paying for it, because this is just to have the city pay for it. Otherwise, we could be paying for it ourselves. The mayor just mentioned we can go to Blue Cross and get our own plan right now. The thing in my mind, what this is really looking at then is what kind of cost you could get it at Blue Cross as a partnership amongst the RDN, amongst the city, which would be different than going to Blue Cross right now because you get it as an individual. So you pay a premium rate versus a group discount on it. Having the group discount is great, but I don't think that the taxpayers should be the ones covering our benefits for that. I think if we had a discount on it, so it's not, you know, if we can get that 157 rate per family versus probably 230 or 250 or whatever it may be privately as an individual, accessing a discount is a great option. But I don't like the implication saying that it's the taxpayers that should be covering this benefit portion of it. And in my mind, by moving this forward that's the direction this is looking at doing, because that's what the RDN does. That's, you know, the wording in here as well. So I'd be supportive of it if it was just looking at getting the discounted rates, but that the individual should be covering them themselves. Without that being in there, it's not something I'm going to be able to support.
Councillor Grants, go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Are you able to hear me all right?
You're very faint. Yeah, if you can turn it up or maybe lean more to your mic.
Well, my mic is right here, so hopefully that's as good as I'm gonna be able to do on my end. Is that okay there?
So difficult. My volume's going up on my microphone, but not yours. Okay, just yell. We know you're not mad. There, okay.
Is that better?
Yes, no, you got it.
Okay,
Yes,
great.
thank you.
Okay. So thank you for the discussion. And I've done a similar exercise with my own business in that with staff, I have to look at what kind of compensation package to put together. But end of the day, it all comes from the same pot. So if there's X number of dollars available for paying staff, it can be parceled out in any number of ways, whether it's salary, benefits, I don't know, staff discounts, whatever. They all come out of the same budget, which is the staffing budget. It's just sliced in different ways. So that's where I kind of take the point of Councillor Fraz around councillors taking it out of their remuneration and putting towards if there's some kind of discounted plan. I do like the option of looking at what the regional district is doing, as that seems like a great idea to save on costs. And I guess that's what UBCM is also offering. My other concern is that I'd much prefer to make decisions about this for a future council as opposed to the current council, because when I ran, I had a general idea of what the compensation package looked like, and was to immediately upon getting elected be asked to vote on giving myself more benefits didn't make me very comfortable. And I think we potentially put the next council into the same position by saying, you know, in 2026, that council can vote on this. And I guess my final point is that, similar to what I was saying in the first point, is if we're looking at the entire package, the whole goal of putting together a compensation package for council is to make sure that that package is going to be able to attract the kind of people who are willing to serve the community in this way, and that they'll be compensated in a way that will get the results that the community deserves. I don't think that, you know, we do a lot of work that probably isn't really paid for if this were a real job, but I don't personally take it as a real, you know, as a real job. I take it as also community service. I guess the one situation where that's a bit different is the mayor. And I do think that the mayor is not compensated well enough, in that having this kind of benefit would be appropriate for the additional responsibilities and time that the mayor has to put into this role. And if we want to attract people in future to step into that role, we definitely need to make sure that we're offering the kind of compensation that would make it worth the sacrifice because there's a lot of additional pressure on a mayor. So I'm overall, I'm in support of moving this forward for discussion, but I'm actually kind of nervous about how much further the discussion ends up going, because it does end up maybe being much more about than just about benefits. It may be about whether we're appropriately compensating members of council. So that's where I get nervous.
Thank you, Councillor Grant. Councillor Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for bringing this up. Personally, I thought, well, maybe I could have an Intuit and pay my own towards with a group. I talked about this and we weren't allowed to, and that's the whole point. I don't mind paying for my own as a group. Wouldn't it be nice to have a package where you could opt into a group package rather than go, like you say, to Blue Cross and find your own for another $100? And that was what I was very willing to pay all along. This to me seems so logical, but it wasn't possible. So I don't know if it is now. Maybe it's changed. Maybe I don't know how it works. But anyway, thank you for bringing this up. And I'm very willing to pay my own package, because I didn't have a package for the company I was with. Not everyone does that comes to council. We're all from different backgrounds. And I think what Councillor Grant is saying is something for us to have it in stone, figure this out properly so that we don't have this sort of thing come up again to say, oh, at the beginning of the term, because people at the beginning of the term, it's quite different. Everyone's
confused.
totally confused. I think
I
they
know.
were, because I had people tell me, oh, gee, I would have voted for that if I'd understood it all. I had more than one counselor say to me, because it was so fast, all the things were going through fast. And I have talked to others, and it's not what I talk about. This is not something I bring up, but it's just in passing. Every council seems to have it. UBCM has it. Why do they have it? So, that's why I thought so. Why not pay for my own? But with a group, it's much better than as an individual. That's the point. Thank you.
Councillor Wood, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. This could probably be cleared up just by making sure that staff is going to include who is going to pay for the package, whether it's coming out of our own remuneration already or whether it is included in the taxpayers, as Councillor Fraz was talking about. And if both of those options are included in this investigation, then a lot of this conversation is moot, and there will be a second conversation as to whether or not we can provide these options and who will pay at that time once we get those options.
And that's exactly what I'm hearing as well. Yeah, and that's what we're talking about today is we're just getting that options and what's it going to look like. And option B is going to be if this is paid for by the individuals, this is what it looks like. And if this is paid for by the city, this is what it looks like over here. So if I would amend the request here. Councillor Fraz, are you suggesting that maybe?
No, I had a different question just through yourself
Yeah, go
to
ahead.
staff there. Just because I see you over on the side, just want some clarity on this. Is there any current opportunity for individuals to opt into a program at their own expense?
Yeah, go ahead, CAO Keller.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't have a very good poker face. I apologize. So the previous staff report from December of 2022 did include a number of options. And so staff will basically if this is approved today at council, we would be updating that report with the current options. One of the options was for members of council to pay their own plan. So we would essentially get like a discounted rate through UBCM, and the individual councillors would pay whatever that premium cost is, around the 127 or whatever you mentioned there, Mr. Mayor. The other challenge with that previous option is that it had a deadline. And so it wasn't staff's deadline. I hear that folks felt like it was a quick deadline, but UBCM had a limit for when those minimum of 3 members could enroll. That being said, there are other plans with other costs. And so what we would intend to do if this passes today is update that report, it was a December 6th, 2022 report that went on the December 19th agenda, and I'll send that to council after the meeting. And you'll see in there was a table where it was essentially, there was a couple of different plans like that covered The basic plan was just kind of 80% of medical like prescriptions. And then there was an enhanced plan that had a certain amount of dollars for things like physio and acupuncture and chiropractor. So that was the enhanced option. And then there was the single and family. So there was 4 kind of levels of coverage. And then there was the options of it being 100% city paid, 50% city paid, or 100% council member paid. And so we would provide the costs for those options again. And then council would be able to decide what options and combinations of those they would want to move forward with for their current term and the options for the next term. And so even if council makes a decision that we look into this for the next term, those individual councillors will still have the opportunity at their budget meetings, like you have as a council, to change what they're opting in for, go with the UBCM plan. I think the difference would be we need a council resolution to create this level of service or compensation for you as members as an initiation, similar to what we're talking about with special events. Like we currently, our direction from council is that this is not provided. So we do need some direction from council on any of those options, whether it be create a plan for the individual members to pay for themselves, but at the lower rate, or any of those other combinations, because right now it has been rejected as a component of the compensation package for council in all forms. So you are stuck with calling by yourself as a regular person to get coverage. So hopefully that clarifies it. There are a lot of different moving parts. But what we had brought to council initially is a good indication of what the costs will be. And it'll probably be inflationary adjusted. So maybe 5% more than it was back in 2022. And the caveat is that we may have a different quote from UBCM and the other benefit providers, just given that the timeline for that one has the costs are based on the point in time plan that we may not be able to access now, given the timelines. So I'll send that report around, which has details on what exactly would be covered under each. There's a lot, I'm not going to read it out, but so that's basically where we're at right now. Is council has given staff direction not to look at any of those options. So we do need something from council if you want us to update or reinvestigate those options now and bring them back to you.
Councillor French, go ahead.
Thank you. So through the mayor to council. So hearing that, I'd be supportive of the motion if it was to bring forward those options, because it sounds like we can't opt in even individually without having a council resolution on it. It's the part of the motion that talks about the cost being covered here by the respective governments. That's the portion that I wouldn't want to be making any kind of decision on right now. But getting the report back from staff and then having the option for us to then be able to decide, I think that part is valuable. So if there was, I don't want to make any demands on the wording of the motion because it's not my motion here, but that's what I would need for me to support it, is just removing where the costs are being covered right now.
I would say that we could amend that to say that the option is there to either be self financed by the individual, as well as the option of being covered by the city. Like that's the option. Yeah, go ahead. See, okay.
Sorry, if I may, through the mayor. So the motion we have on the floor right now that was moved by yourself and seconded by Councillor Martin is that staff be directed to investigate the extended benefit plan options for elected officials to receive coverage for the remainder of the current council's term to October 2026. So we might suggest that we say and report back to council, and that leaves that basically with no direction on what is chosen in the end, if that is agreeable to both the mover and seconder.
Yeah, and that's because it says options. And so that's what's going to come back in the report, to provide options. I wouldn't self-provide or that. Yeah. Does that work? Okay. Okay. So we council, are we all aware of the amended motion as such? Councillor Grunge, you heard that? Okay. Okay, great. Okay, any further discussion before we, okay, so this is just number one. Okay. Any further discussion? Call the question. All those in favor of the amended motion? Thank you. That carries unanimous. Thank you. Now, moving on to the next one. I've already read it out. Could I have a mover or seconder for the next one as well? We already have a mover and seconder, but we split it up. So the discussion now, since I moved it anyways, I explained briefly before, I think that there's some cost benefit anyways to perhaps the city of Parksville and have a more equitable understanding of what the other electoral areas are doing as well. And so that puts us in line with our area. And also just to suggest that this is going to be providing for the next council, the next term, not this council's term. Councillor Gord. Oh, sorry, Councillor Martin seconded. She gets first. So, any comments of this? Yeah.
I think it's progressive to at least find out what the others are doing. And if there's a package that's being developed by all the different communities, so you get a better package, then the question is down the road, we have an option if we want to opt into it. That would be discussed later, but at least find out if we can, this will be involved with our council. We want to opt in, at least find out about it. That's
Right.
all. Yeah.
Thank you.
Wouldn't that be a suggested good idea? for
Yes.
Doing it?
Thank you, Councillor Martin. Thank you. Councillor Gord.
Yes, thank you. To staff, just to want to make sure that this also includes the option of the UBCM package for the next council. Thank you. I would like the councillor mentioned previously, I would like an amendment to remove the line from with each member local government covering the cost for the respective elected officials be struck out from this motion. Just
Well, it has to be if we set up a deal with the RDN, then each member local government would be, in the case of the RDN here, it's the city of Nanaimo, Parksville, and Lanceville, and down to Qualicum Beach. That RDN doesn't pay for it. As a group, they would pay for it, but we would all submit our own. City of Parksville would submit into the RDN, as the town of Qualicum Beach would submit theirs into the. So it would have to be in the most cost effective, which is local government covering the cost for the respective. That's exactly what it has to entail. Yes.
Yes, thank you. So that's what I'm trying to remove, that the way it reads now, it says that all the cost will be covered by the local government. That's the option that I'm seeing by reading the motion. So I'm asking for staff to remove this option as an amendment to this, with each member local government covering the costs for the respective elected officials portion. So it's easier to have even those options presented where the council members can pay for their own benefits out of their own pocket as being, rather than the way it's presented now. It looks like the local government is going to cover the cost of the benefits 100%.
Yeah, I see difficulty in that already, because the RDN already pay for all of theirs, as well as the city of Nanaimo and town of Qualicum Beach. So to say that then Parksville would be opting out of that would be, what's the point? Why would we putting in? But you're just saying that it wouldn't be for all members. It would be only for those members that wanted to opt in. We're talking the next council. Yeah. Councillor Fraz, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. So Mayor, I just need some clarification here. When it's talking about partnering through the RDN, is this just for the RDN board members, or would it be for?
Sorry, the RDN, which?
When you're talking about partnering with the RDN, I don't know how the benefits package, can't recall how it's broken down there for right now. You're not talking about just the board members sitting at the RDN table.
No.
You're talking about all council members then through a package that would be partnered with the RDN.
Correct.
And I think what Councillor Gore was saying then is this motion then is saying that the cost would be borne by the city of Parksville, which kind of negates what we just previously discussed about for individuals paying their own way Because then if we went in partnership with the RDN where the city was covering it, we're just back to the point of the partial taxpayer covering the
Yeah,
cost again.
yes, but the end goal, I feel here, which will come up after we get the study back anyways, would be the fact that the end goal would be the city of Parksville elected officials would have that option of having theirs paid for and running through the RDN master plan. Yeah. Yeah, it just like to change it. Similar as what we did in our last term when we voted raise in the stipend that all council members did. We voted in that, I believe, before the end of our term. And it was put in place immediately. And as well, we didn't do it. We took the brave step to do it at that time to come up to an equitable level of remuneration, which we did. But in this particular case, what we're doing is we're being brave enough to put this in place for the future council. So they actually know that before they apply to run for election, that they know that they have the option. Their stipend is going to be X and their benefit package is going to be Y if needed, if opted. So that's just putting it in place for the next term. And as always, and if the public feels that any of us that vote for it now, they have the option of not voting for us in the next term if they don't support us looking out after for the next council. And fair be it. Yeah, you've already spoke. We go to first time speakers.
Thank you, Mayor. If I
Councilor Wood.
may, I think the confusion is that this may read that the city of Parksville is picking up the tab and it's not coming from our own remuneration that already exists. But what this means is the city of Parksville would be included in that group benefits package. And say we were paying for our own, then the city would probably take it off our existing remuneration. It has to flow through the city because the city is a member of that group benefits package.
And that decision could be made. Yes.
And that decision could be
That
made.
decision
So
could be made. Absolutely.
this has nothing to do with that the city is picking up the tab if council approves that of the benefits package itself. It's more that the city is a member of the RDN group benefits package. That's, I believe, what it is, but I think our CAO had her hand up. But
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. CAO Kaler.
Thank you. If I may, through the mayor, I understand where Councillor Gore is coming from. And I think what staff would do is bring back a similar report to the December report from 2022. And at that time, seek clarity from council what the exact program would look like for the 2026 new council. So we would have to amend the remuneration bylaw, and that would give us the opportunity to basically specify whether it's a self-funded plan or a city-funded plan or a shared 50-50, that would have to go into the bylaw. So I think there is opportunity to refine the costs, but I also agree with Councillor Wood that we would have to pay the RDN. So we would have to come after you if it was going to be funded by the council members, or the city would be paying it if that's the decision that is made for the program. So I kind of see both parts of where the confusion is coming, but it does still leave it open for council to make further decision on the exact billing of how the plan that is chosen is paid for.
Right. And that's what your report would reflect.
Yes.
Thank you. You okay with that? Okay. Councillor Grenz has disappeared. There he is. Any comments, Councillor Grenz? Your hand, you had disappeared for a while, so I didn't see it. Okay, you're good? Okay. Okay, so on the second recommendation as per amended, for CEO Kaler's report. All those in favor? That carries. Thank you. Perfect. No, the notices of motion in my package. Liaison reports. We'll now move on to liaison reports. We'll start with Councillor Martin. You want? Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And yes, the way we work, we're very involved, not quite as involved as you are, but there's lots going on here. the PDBA is having Forks and Tunes Food Truck Festivals on Sunday, and I'm giving this notice now. I'll be mentioning it again, but it's not till June 8th. But it's good that people know about this. It's a big event from 11:30 to 7 on June 8th. And it's at the Credit Union parking lot there in Memorial Plaza. And it's for all ages, and it will be a great event. They're also the PDBA is looking forward to the new street patio bylaw after May 22nd. And there's lots of interest and support because the PDBA's goal is for a vibrant downtown community. I mean, that's very evident. They're working on it all the time. And so this really does fit into what their goals are. And it's exciting for them. So for the downtown area to be more vibrant, and that's part of it, definitely in the high season. The Parksville Historical Society is now open. The sign's out. They're open every day except for Tuesday and Wednesday. And they run from 11 till 6 p.m. It's on their website. I mentioned the new manager last time. And the admission is still by donation. And people can donate. We must appreciate it. So those are the two things that are happening. And I wanted to mention yesterday, Councillor Beal and myself were at the Battle of the Atlantic Service in Qualicum. It was very well received. There was councillors all the way from Ladysmith up to, and we had our MLA was there too. And it was very well done. And Stephanie Higginson was there. Tunis, Mayor of Qualicum, he made a presentation, and there was wreaths done, and he did it on behalf of all of us. And the whole thing was just outstanding. When you think of the news you're hearing all around the world, what's happened yesterday for the 80th anniversary, they were doing it here in little old Oceanside. I thought it was wonderful. So it was special to be represented by Parksville Councillor Beal and myself. They're marching with them. Yeah.
Thanks, Councillor
Yeah.
Martin.
Mhm.
Yeah, thank you. Councillor Beal, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I will echo that the presentation yesterday and the gathering really was quite moving. And there were people there as well from Comox, the Air Base, and CF Meter and elsewhere. So there were a lot of medals in the audience. I would like to, it's not on the agenda, but the OCAC, I would like to mention and suggest that everyone look forward to reading and seeing a special feature about the former McMillan Schoolhouse, and looking back into the history, but also looking forward to the future as they start the fundraising campaign that will be going for 2 years. So a great article coming out in the paper with some very cool photos of bygone days at the McMillan Historical Building.
One of our few. Thank you. Anybody else have anything or any other new business today? Seeing none, I would ask for a mover or a seconder for the recommendation that pursuant to section 91A and K of the Community Charter, council proceed to a closed meeting to consider items relating to personal information about an identifiable individual who holds or is being considered for a position as an officer, employee, or agent of the municipality or another position appointed by the municipality, and negotiations and related discussions respecting the proposed provision of a municipal service. I'm a mover, moved by Councillor Wood, seconded by Councillor Beal. All those in favor? Thank you.